Hello and welcome to the United Views preview show for Sunday's match at Everton. I'm Tom Dorr, I'll be the host today, and I'll welcome you to our panel now. Of course, you may recognise this man from some of the other shows. I'm actually sitting in his seat tonight, but we've got Ben on as a surprise panellist. Welcome, Ben.
This is weird, isn't it? Like, a little bit weird. I kind of feel like I was coming into the conversation, like probably most of our panelists do, Tom, and think, oh, look, there's Ben, the big guy, the celebrity of the panel, and now you're that guy, Tom.
And I'm just keeping your seat warm, mate. You know, it's a comfortable seat, I've got to say there.
Yeah,
Next
it's
up,
extra support.
yeah. Next up, we've got one of our regulars, Pasha. Welcome, Pasha.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk about United with you guys.
You're phoning in from the US as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So just the thing with I'm just glad I talk with some people that talk sense on this channel instead of talking to a dumb yank about United, because that shit, I'm not even gonna discuss about that.
It's always good to have a proper United Yank among us.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Aidan. Welcome, Aidan.
Yeah, cheers for having me on. This should be a good show. A lot of interesting topics today.
Yeah, definitely. And as of Aidan's going to be one of our regulars from now on. So if you like what you hear, then tune in once again. But of course, before Sunday's game, we've got to touch on the fact that today is a very, very special anniversary for United, and for one ex-United manager in particular, because of course today is the day that David Moyes was sacked last year by United after, of course, a defeat at his former stomping ground, Goodison Park. I mean, he was sacked with 4 games left of the season, well off the pace, in 7th place. And since then, this season we've picked up under Louis van Gaal. But Ben, I'm going to come to you first. After we lost Moyes, do you still think it was the right decision to make at the time? Do you think it was the only decision to make at the time?
Do you know what? I wasn't one of these who was actually calling for Moyes to be out. I understood that he wasn't doing what he needed to do with the football club, but I wasn't. Moyes out, get that plain banner over Old Trafford. I didn't think that was the right way to go about it. I believed in just letting him run his course to the end of the season, then possibly letting him go. However, I was also one of the people who thought that he should have maybe been given more time. To be honest, though, that's just come around and bite me in the back, because there is no way we'd be doing what we know if we was with David Moyes, because we wouldn't be. Louis van Gaal has come into this side, and he has not just boosted the confidence. He has not just done his own thing. He's not been arrogant. I mean, I think what sums up Louis van Gaal and the change since Moyes is that video which was put on the Man United Foundation Twitter account the other day of him reading out a fan's transfer list. Now, look, that would never have happened under the Moyes era, because one, Moyes wasn't that funny, and two, Moyes didn't have that much confidence, and three, which United fan would have thought that David Moyes could get Paul Pogba and Hummels in the same window? Like, this is what Van Gaal has done, and to be honest, I think the people who were asking for Moyes to be given time, like myself, I've got to hold my hands up and admit to that, have really probably been put in their seat and put in their place now, and it's just exciting now, isn't it? What else can I say? Yeah.
I mean, I've got to agree with you there. I mean, I was one of the camp that I thought, my faith in Moyes was waning, but I still thought he should have been given more time. But as you say with that list, I mean, that list given to Moyes, he probably would have put in his back pocket and given it to one of his scouts, wouldn't he? I mean, Aidan, just touching on that, what Ben said, do you think Moyes should have been given more time, or do you think that the sacking was an inevitability given the way the season was panning out?
I mean, again, I was one of those who did back Moyes, because I think it is unfair. And you look at other teams like Chelsea, who sack their manager as soon as they don't win a trophy. City are now in that boat as well. And I didn't want us to become that, but I was willing to give him another year. Obviously, I've got nothing to do with the club, but yeah, I was willing to back him for another year, because I don't think he really had a proper full transfer, and I think this window, well, last summer, would have been his chance to get the players, but obviously he was sacked, and I agree with the decision. I can understand why the club did it. Horrendous defeats against Liverpool, City, and then ultimately Everton, which killed off any chance we had of getting Champions League. So I didn't disagree with the club. But again, I thought he should have been given time. Obviously, that's kind of been proven wrong now. We'll never know what would have happened, but I don't think it's as good as what has happened now. I don't think we would have got a marquee signing like Angel Di Maria either, even though he hasn't been performing. Still big name signings, same as Radamel Falcao, Aloni. And ultimately, I think we're better off, because Louis van Gaal as far as I believe, it wasn't available as soon as Sir Alex Ferguson retired. So we couldn't go after someone like that. But now we've got someone like Louis van Gaal. I'm excited, and I have been ever since the start of the season when we were losing games, because he installs his philosophy. You know, obviously that word philosophy, but it's not just that. He installs belief in the player. They've got players, they trust him, he knows what he's doing, and he always said it was not about short term, it's about the long term. And I think most United fans, understood that, and understood it would take, he's got a 3-year plan, he might get 2 more years if he decides to sign on. He says he's going to retire here. And I think he's got a clear plan of when to do things, what to do, and he also knows exactly what the team needs. And I think in the transfer market this summer, it's going to be so effective. And yeah, ultimately, as I say, it was a bit gutting for Moyes, but I think it was just the wrong appointment for him. He's doing fantastically at Real Sociedad, and I'm happy for him. I really hope he does, because he was the most disappointing figure in Manchester. You could tell it meant so much to him that he just couldn't cope, and ultimately it's better off for the club and Moyes. So yeah, we've got Louis van Gaal now, so I wish the best to Moyes, but yeah, the future looks bright.
Yeah, I mean, Pasha, just touching on what Aidan said there about transfers in particular. I mean, he went after Ander Herrera, couldn't get him, and obviously now, he's starring for United. He signed Mata, he signed Fellaini. They weren't performing last season, as we know that they probably should have been doing, but now they're starring as well. Given that he was given a 6-year deal, and he was sacked less than a year into that, do you think that Moyes got the short end of the stick following Ferguson? Do you think we're now seeing the fruits of his labour? Is Van Gaal benefiting from Moyes' early signings, or is it just that Van Gaal's a better manager?
You see, when it comes to top managers, they're great because they know how to dominate their players into a game and how they control them based off selection. You see, the thing with David Moyes was that he had a small club mentality. Manchester United was too big of a club for him. And personally speaking, I feel like when he didn't, he needed a center mid, he just had the best option for me just to get Fellaini and just force him into playing the center mid role. Accessing, not to mention that he knows how Fellaini plays for such a long time, ever since Goodison Park. And then we saw how well Louis van Gaal used Fellaini as opposed to David Moyes. It just shows you the type of managers they are. Now let me tell you guys this way, right? Early on this season, we saw the injury crisis we had. And we saw the system that Louis van Gaal had to play, and we still won games with it. We even beat Arsenal at the Emirates, with the back line of 3. Would you ever see that under David Moyes if we had this injury crisis? No, we'd probably be losing games week in and week out. The thing with David Moyes was that he was too negative, right? Too negative approach to football games. And I feel like the only reason why I said that he should have been given more time is that if we saw progress. That's the biggest thing. If we finished 5th in the season, but we did so well, we progressed so much, I still say that just because we spent 150 million doesn't mean that we just sack a guy just because he spent 150 million. If we see progress, that's all that matters. And we didn't see that under David Moyes. But, however, in the footballing style we play, I'd rather get a bowler than never watch that ever again. So, to sum up everything up, basically is that, the club was unfortunately, David Moyes had a really small club mentality, and United was too big for him, and I wish him the best. I mean, he did some good things. I'm not just going to come slate him. Bring Adnan Januzaj through the ranks. We saw in the preseason tour that Phil Neville said, do you want him to be part of the first team? And he said yes, and look how big of an impact player he was, keeping us Wayne Rooney. I'm saying this right now, I'll say it forever. Once Wayne Rooney leaves this club, people would appreciate him more for what he's done. And if you don't rate him, that's fine. But his club, the statistics and stuff, everybody talks about Aguero and stuff. He has better stats than Aguero in these couple of seasons. So, it's just because he's English. I don't know, just because he's Wayne Rooney, they call him Shrek. But it's amazing. If Shrek could do that so much stuff, then why not, It just, for me, I feel like right now we are under the good hands. Louis van Gaal has shown that. He's bringing in the new attacking philosophy into United that he's done in the previous years, and we're on the right path. And hopefully we've just, I mean, there's nothing else to say about Louis van Gaal because he's a type of manager that he said that give me 3 months. When he said give me 3 months, actually all of us are fans. We thought that okay, 3 months, we're gonna see the philosophy working, and it didn't. So it takes time. He just realized it took so much time to get it, and the players have bought into his philosophy. And once the players play under a certain philosophy, that's all that matters. Under David Moyes, we're just, we didn't even know what the players were doing. And as I said, I'm just thankful that Louis van Gaal was a blessing in disguise for us, honestly. Maybe it was just meant for to be. And David Moyes, to be honest, there's nothing else for me to say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that's a good point you make about Moyes perhaps having a small team mentality, whereas Van Gaal obviously is dreaming of bigger and better things. And that's the case because we're well on course for, a top 4 finish at the moment, potentially even a top 3 finish, top 2 perhaps, but maybe not after the Chelsea game. But just touching on the Chelsea game, Ben, I mean, we're still on course. We're well on course despite that defeat, but I mean, how confident are you going into the Sunday's game against Everton after that defeat? Do you think the injuries are a problem for us, or do you think that we showed enough at Stamford Bridge to be able to, go into Goodison Park thinking we can get the 3 points?
I think we showed enough at Stamford Bridge. That's true, but I also think that the injuries won't be as a big a problem against Chelsea. Main reason being that we should have half of them back. I don't know. Carrick might or might not be fit. I don't know what the word is on that. I think Jones should be back. Blind should be back as well. I mean, the big dilemma is left back, Blind or Shaw, for Louis van Gaal, really. And McNair, does McNair play? McNair, for me, was one of our best players on the pitch against Chelsea.
Definitely.
We did play well. Confidence-wise, I've always said I think Everton's our biggest game of our last run-in. I just believe we can beat Arsenal at Old Trafford. For me, Crystal Palace is going to be dodgy. I think we'll beat West Brom. I think we'll beat Hull away as well. But Goodison Park is always difficult. It's always difficult. I mean, I just remember big sides. I've always remembered big sides playing at Goodison Park and not getting the result they want. It's going to be a big game. It's going to be a tough game. And how would a team react to a defeat? They're not used to losing this season. We haven't lost a lot of games. I'm confident that we'll win. But it's not going to be easy, and I think we're gonna be looking at a last minute maybe. I think I just expect a massive worrying game on Sunday, and I expect them to take the lead as well.
Yeah, I mean, as Ben says there, Aidan, I mean, Everton are a tricky team this season. I mean, they can beat the big teams, but they've also shown some really sloppy form. I mean, at home and away, I think they're 12th in the table. They've had a really indifferent season, but they've still got a lot of talent and they've got a good defence. I mean, where do you think Everton will be a threat on Sunday? Do you think we'll have to worry about the attack given our defenders, or is it more a case of trying to break them down? Where do you see Everton's main threat like?
They've got a few threats, right? Mainly their fullbacks, Leighton Baines and Seamus Coleman, are fantastic at getting forward, and earlier in the season they really did miss them through injury and they didn't pick up a lot of points. When they're both playing though and they're both fully firing, they are definitely big threats. And I think, as stupid as it sounds, right, one of the biggest turning points for Everton was signing Aaron Lennon. He's been fantastic for them. All right, you got Ross Barkley and all this English talent, etc. He's been overhyped too much, and this season he hasn't really done much. Romelu Lukaku's been decent when he's played. He's had a lot of criticism as well, but he has scored a fair few, especially in the Europa League, which obviously they're not in anymore. Kevin Morales is back as well. That's going to be a big threat as well, because I don't think he played at Old Trafford, if I remember rightly. I think he was injured. Could be wrong there earlier in the season. But yeah, that's definitely where their threats are. But in terms of us, I don't think the defeat against Chelsea will even feel like a defeat for the players because of Louis van Gaal's confidence after the game. He said he's proud of his team. I think he would have drilled that into the players and said, look, we were unlucky. You play like that against Everton, we'll take the 3 points. I don't think that's going to be a hindrance at all in the players' mind that they lost. And we've certainly got enough firepower to beat Everton, even if all 4 of our players are injured, like Jones, Rojo, Blind and Carrick, even though that means Rooney will have to play in midfield. He did that against Everton last time and obviously got sent off, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. And as I say, their fullbacks are main threats for them. And that's why, touching on that Blind versus Luke Shaw thing, if Blind is back, I still say just for this game, 2 reasons Luke Shaw should play. 1, it was his best performance in a United shirt, and I think, since he's young, he needs to get some consistent performances. So he knows in his mind, mentally, he knows he can do it consistently, and he's good enough for United, because he said it's been a big transition for him. And also, 2, I don't want to see Daley Blind get a recurring injury, like a stupid injury that keeps him out for the rest of the season or something. So, I don't think there's much need in maybe playing Blind. I would say Carrick, if anyone, is definitely the big one we need to come in. McNair, was brilliant as a centre-back. Smalling's just signed his extension, so I think he'll be bringing with confidence, determined to show why he signed and why Louis van Gaal believes in him. So yeah, personally, that Chelsea defeat, I think Louis van Gaal did all the right things, said all the right things, and I think the confidence is still going to be really high, and it's not going to feel like a defeat. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Aidan, you forgot to mention Phil Jagielka being Everton's biggest threat. I hear he can hit one from 25 yards.
Only against Liverpool.
I mean, yeah, just Pasha. Going on to that, I mean, Aidan talking about the defence there. I mean, there are so many options we've got at the moment. I mean, it's not at the start of the season. It was a worry, and you know, there have been points this season where De Gea has obviously saved us so many points, so many times. But we've actually got, I think, the second best defence in the league now. And I mean, Van Gaal's got a lot of defensive options. McNair was fantastic. Smalling.
You know why it's that? You know why it's that, though, Don? It's because of his man management. That's why Sir Alex Ferguson was the greatest manager of all time, is because of his man management. And that's what he does. He knows how to access his players. You know, the big decision was, people were like, who the hell is Paddy McNair? Why did he pick Tom Thorpe? And now everybody forgot about Tom Thorpe, and everybody's hailing Paddy McNair. Whose decision was it? Louis van Gaal's. So, you know, once again, he knows the youth, and he knows what players he needs in. And I'm really looking forward to see how Paddy McNair grows up, because I'd rather honestly see him over Jones against Everton. As Melvin said, for some reason I feel like whenever we play against pacey fullbacks, against any clubs, we get battered into pieces. And I hope that's not the case that when we play against Everton. The biggest threat I see, for some reason, I see them turning up just because, you know, obviously it's United, you know. But my biggest concern is that who is going to be available? You know, is Carrick and Blin will be available? Who's going to be holding the center mid? If Carrick does play, we'll be better positioned, because he's going to do the dirty work, and he's going to let Fellaini and Hera to play more up top. But the big question is, as Melvin said, I do want to see Luke Shaw start, because for a 19-year-old to play, coming back from injury, playing against that Chelsea, that's fantastic. In these recent years, I've never seen us. Yes, Mourinho was going to play defensive, he's going to give us position, but he wasn't expecting us to give 70% position. It's just Louis van Gaal's way of dominating, and to see that under David Moyes, no way. For me, once again, I'm just going to say, it doesn't matter if Everton is in bad form or good form. We lost the league to City because of the 4-4. We underestimated them, right? However, I do want to say one thing. I hope Fellaini batters them into pieces. Because when I was at the game, I'll never forget this. I'm just going to say this. This might be a little bit off topic. When I was at the United game versus Southampton and Old Trafford, and when I got back to London, I still had my United kits on, and some Everton fans pointed fingers at me and were mocking me and just saying that we got Martinez, you got Moyes, you know, just making fun. Now when I think about it, where the fuck are they now? You know, they're just hiding. So the good times are coming back. When rival fans realize that there's United are back, that just shows the improvement Louis van Gaal has done with his team. And for us, I think we're going to give it to Everton. But once again, Goodison Park has been a tough place for United these past couple of seasons. But I don't think we should underestimate them just because they have not been in greatest form. Every mediocre team in the Premier League always shows up against United just because it is Manchester United. But I see us giving it to them big time. And I hope Fellaini scores. A big middle finger to Everton fans if he does score.
Especially for that mocking, mate. I mean, Ben, just Pasha makes a good point there about Van Gaal's philosophy in the Chelsea game as well in particular. I mean, we took the game to them, but do you think there could be the accusation leveled at Van Gaal that he was potentially a bit naive going into that game? Because we all knew that Van Gaal would play a possession-based game. We all knew that, you know, we'd try and create chances through passing. And everyone knew that Mourinho would obviously let United have the ball, as he's let Arsenal have the ball in the past, as United have let Arsenal have the ball as well. And that obviously played into Chelsea's hands. So do you think there's a case to be made for Van Gaal maybe approaching this game with a little bit more adaptability rather than just saying, this is my best team, I'm going to try and beat you?
I think, to be honest, you know, when I host the Sunday shows, I try not to get my own views involved because we've got so many guests on that I just don't have time. For me, against Chelsea, what we missed were our triangles. Big time, we really missed our triangles. In terms of triangles, I mean the Blind, Fellaini, Young, the Mata, Herrera, Valencia. We really missed it, and then Carrick just gelled it all together. Where we had for the first 10 minutes Rooney in the middle, and then Herrera took over in the middle. So then it was a Rooney, Mata, Valencia. And then Rooney was coming central. He was all over the park. There was nothing on the right hand side, so we couldn't get Mata in the game. We couldn't get Valencia in the game. So that's one half of the pitch. We're out the game. Then we're relying on trying to get the balls through to Falcao, and Falcao has lost that yard. I don't care what anyone says. After that injury, he does look a yard, 2 yard, 3 yards slower. So we couldn't get that ball through to him. And if any sort of physical aerial duel came about with Falcao, he didn't win it. He never won it, even though it was a foul in the lead up to the goal. He wasn't strong enough. And then on the left hand side, Daley Blind wasn't there. It's Luke Shaw instead. And although Luke Shaw was incredible, there's a few times Ashley Young could have played it to him where he would have if it was Daley Blind, but didn't. He played it back into the centre for Fellaini and played the safe pass. And then when it got to it and we were 1-0 down, Fellaini started to go further up, so the option wasn't there for the triangle with Shaw and Young. It's funny how the game works, but people saying we weren't creating chances, and that's why. And that's why if we get Blind back, Herrera will go straight back out towards the right, and we'll have Blind in the centre, and he would jet it. If we had Carrick back, Carrick would be back in the centre. He'd jet it. I think Luke Shaw was brilliant. He's got to play for me over Blind. But I think Van Gaal will set up the same. He will use exactly the same formation. It's just the personnel. And for me, I 100% think we're going to beat Everton. It's just a case of staying strong in defence, and that's not easy. You're playing against Lukaku, who's big, fast, and strong. You're playing against Aaron Lennon, who could outrun us all. He could outrun Valencia. Yeah. Well, you know where I'm coming from, But and also, Morales as well. He's a tricky player. They've got real threats going forward, and they've got better Gareth Barry in midfield and nothing else. But it's going to be a tough game, and they're going to score a goal. You've got to think they're going to score a goal, which means we've got to go out there and get a few. And I think we can do it. I think Pasha was right. We can go and score a few there.
Yeah, I mean that's a superb point you make about the triangles. I mean, especially as well with the personnel that we were lacking. I mean, Aidan, going into the game, I mean, do you think that Van Gaal should play the same formation, but with, if we've got the injuries, it's obviously going to be weaker personnel. Do you think that, we should be playing a 4-3-3, or given that, say, we've got Rooney and Falcao fit, should we be switching to a 4-4-2 to, are the personnel more important, or is the system that Van Gaal's instilled in the team, is that the key? Sorry, mate, you just muted a sec.
Oops.
No worries.
When on the hosting, it's a sham.
Anyway,
we're getting a bit of the build up to this. This better be a good point, mate.
It is, don't worry. Anyway, I think that's a very obvious question. Answer, I think the system over the personnel any day. We've tried to accommodate RVP, Falcao, Di Maria, all in the same system, and it just does not work. And players have to be played out of position, and it doesn't work. This 4-3-3, I was delighted to see that Louis van Gaal stuck with it against Chelsea, even though we were without injuries, because it shows that he actually trusts the system and he can move around players in there. He trusts other players to come in, and we've seen Luke Shaw and Paddy McNair haven't played in months, and they were perfect in this 4-3-3. Imagine if we played something like 3-5-2 and Luke Shaw was on the wing back again. He'd have been confused. He wouldn't have had a clue where would Young have played. It's just pointless. Two up front, I think, for us just doesn't work. Whenever we've played it, one of our strikers has just collided with the other one. Basically, they just cannot make the runs that one up front can. Ideally, that has to be Rooney, but again, if he's forced in the midfield, then Falcao scored against Everton at Old Trafford. It might have been a scrappy goal, but it was his first goal. So, I think against Chelsea, he was just very unlucky, and that summed up his entire United career. He's been very unlucky. He hit the post. John Terry blocked one of his shots. Gary Cahill blocked one of his shots. He just had no luck. And although he has lost a yard of pace, I do agree with what Ben said. But at the same time, he still can score, even though he hasn't shown it at United. So it's not as though we lack a finisher if Rooney is forced into midfield. It's just whether, he can actually score the goal, because I don't think we'll go with RVP. He played an hour in the under-21 game. He got an assist. And I don't think he's ready yet. Louis van Gaal likes to have his players train for at least 2 weeks. He's very, very strict on that, which is good, to be honest. It prevents further injury. So, in terms of the personnel, definitely it's the system over the personnel any day. Louis van Gaal lives and breathes 4-3-3, and you've seen the turnaround. We've battered Spurs, we've battered Liverpool, we've battered City. And well, we battered Liverpool for half a game, and that was good enough. So yeah, certainly I would keep 4-3-3 against Everton. And to be honest, I think that is probably one of the deadliest formations you can play at Goodison Park, because it counteracts everything they do with their wing backs if played correctly.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's a great point. I mean, Pasha, going on to that, I mean, I think it was, I may be wrong, but I think it was Gary Cahill that said that the best thing United did on Sunday was play Rooney in midfield, because that obviously negates his attacking threat if he's caught up in a midfield battle. I mean, defenders don't want to see Rooney running at them and looking for passes. They want to see him caught up battling, their aggressive players. Do you think that Rooney needs to play up front on Sunday, or do you think he can do a job in the middle, or is it a case of if we're going to play the 4-3-3, then he has to play up front?
The thing with Rooney in the midfield is as I said, he's good one day and he makes people blind thinking that he should be playing the middle, and some days you're just like, I don't want him to. Rooney is a striker, all right? No, he should not be playing in the midfield. Unless if it comes down to the injury problems and stuff, I still would opt for Rooney as a striker somehow, because I don't want to see Falcao up top, because you see, Falcao was not helping himself much. Melvin said he was unlucky. I sort of disagree with that, because great strikers are what they do is that their ability to read the game and try to position themselves in order to create scoring chances for themselves. That's what RVP did in his first season with United. That's why he's banged in goals and literally helped us get that title. Falcao is not doing much himself any good. The way he's getting, they call him El Tigre, and he's El Tigre. But against Chelsea, he was getting dispossessed this whole season easily. For a player that caliber, just shows how all-time low his confidence is. So I hope if we do get the players back, I do want to see Rooney up top. I do not want to see Falcao up top, because, at some point, I love Falcao. I think he's a humble player, but we're trying to get to fourth place. Our fans are getting too caught up thinking that, Falcao, he still has a chance. Forget about that. We're playing a 4-3-3 system next season. Where is Falcao going to fit? We're not going to drop. We just did that because he's trying to see what was the best system working. The thing is, when you have too many world-class players, right, too many top-class players trying to play in the same team, it never works. We've seen that against Real Madrid, and all, how Snyder, Robin, all these players, they all left eventually, right? It comes down to the system of 4-3-3 and what works best. Our fans are getting too caught up thinking that, Falcao and stuff. Like, no, we're trying to get fourth place. Falcao is one person. You're trying to take Falcao over to the club? He wasn't doing anything himself any good against Chelsea, getting dispossessed, right? You could argue that should have been a foul. I disagree. I think that was not a foul because he just easily got dispossessed. Going back to Rooney, he should be played as a striker, and he's going to pass Andy Cole, I believe, in the second all-time scoring, right below Alan Shearer. So he's a fantastic striker, and he's proven that. Unfortunately, our fans don't rate him. Once he leaves the club, then they'll appreciate him. But once again, not to mention, he doesn't have a good record against Everton. That's ironic, too, when you think about it. That I just wanted to add on, too. But once again, it takes time to see what he wants to access. This midfield we have now, it's not going to be the same midfield. He's going to change it up. But it's good to see that he sees that the 4-3-3 is working, and he's going to use that for United. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to do against Everton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Rooney's got to play up front then, Pasha. Ben, looking at this, I mean, I'm going to ask you for your starting 11 now, which may be a bit difficult because obviously Van Gaal doesn't even know his starting 11 with his injuries at the moment. But I want you to take a crack at it.
Well, I think Carrick's out from reports saying he's out. I also think Robin Van Persie is back. I believe Evans' suspension is over now. Is it? I keep seeing reports that is it not? I keep seeing reports.
Mate, don't mention Evans, mate. Don't mention Evans.
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, he's a squad player. I've got to, and he was so amazing, Pasha, for the under-21s. I mean, oh, God.
Fantastic. Gave away the goal against Leicester. Truly world class.
I would throw him back in the team.
Hey, I'll tell you guys one thing. The reason why he's still a United player is because his missus works for Man U TV and she's banging.
Well, anyway, I'll forget Evans because I wouldn't play Evans anymore. Just team news. I think Jones is back and I think Blind is back. So I am going to put my team with Carrick out. I'm going to go with De Gea in goal. I'm going to go Valencia because now Raphael is out for the rest of the season with broken ribs, so that's the end of that debate. We'd also go with Smalling and McNair with Shaw at left back. McNair over Jones. Why? Because Jones makes me literally shit myself every time he gets anywhere near a player or a ball of the towards the opposition. So Luke Shaw would play left back over Blind for me. Then in midfield, obviously it'd be Herrera, Blind, and Fellaini. Blind would play there if Carrick's not there, and I think that would be everyone's view. And then I would go with Mata, Rooney, Young. Same strong players in the positions. For me, I wouldn't throw Di Maria in just for the reason that actually, we could throw him in against West Brom, I believe, at home, and the fans will get behind him, and that would be the perfect game to see what he can do ahead of Arsenal, possibly. And I bet you any money he'd be rowing for revenge against Arsenal after that FA Cup game. So, yeah, same players really, same personnel. The only change would be Blind in midfield for me.
Yep, that's a strong shout for keeping Di Maria out until the West Brom game. I mean, Aidan, what do you think about that lineup? Would you change anything? Would you go for the same? Or
I've got one change in that, but just quickly to say to do with what Pasha was saying on his last point. Rooney is a striker. The only reason I was saying he could play in centre mid is because in case Blind and Carrick are injured, we don't have anyone else. But yeah, he's definitely a striker, out and out, and yeah, he would play ahead of Falcao any day. But anyway, in my team, I agree with everything. I agree with the Di Maria point. As much as I really want him to hit form, etc., Goodison Park probably isn't the best time to do it. Even though he got a goal and assist in the game at Old Trafford, again, that was at home. So yeah, I would keep Ashley Young for this game, and then I agree with the West Brom, play him then, see what happens, because Ashley Young was a little bit ineffective last game against Chelsea. Ivanovic kind of bossed him out of it. Luke Shaw excelled, so yeah, definitely play him as left back, and I believe Blind will be back. So my one change in his lineup is that I would use Rojo, and the reason for that, in for McNair. I know McNair had such a good game, but Louis van Gaal likes, kind of experience, and Rojo's left-footed as well, so he likes left-footed and a right-footed centre-back. So I would say Rojo and Smalling as the pairing, because they're going to have to deal with a lot of threat, especially from Morales and Lennon, pace, etc. And we saw against, I think it was Southampton, Paddy McNair. He had his one-off day in the United shirt, and at Goodison Park, I don't know how he would react. I know he did well at Stamford Bridge, but I just don't want to rush him too much. If we've got other defenders available, I think we should use them just in case. Because he's a bright prospect for the future, but I just don't want to see him, his confidence taking any hits. So yeah, that would be my one change. Rojo in for McNair if he's fit. If he's not, then McNair starts over Evans every single day of the week, because Evans has made far too many errors and won't be here next season.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. I mean, I've been a fan of Evans for a long time, but he's just, his stats have declined each season. He looks less confident on the ball, especially in a ball-playing team, which is a strange thing. But I mean, Pasha, touching on what Aidan said there about potentially dropping McNair. I mean, McNair played fantastically at Stamford Bridge. I think we can all agree. But, Everton away against a strong side, somebody like Lukaku, it has, a little bit of the feeling that it could potentially turn into, another Leicester away game, a horror away day with inexperienced defenders. I mean, would you drop McNair for a more experienced defender on the road, or would you keep him in?
We're in a part of a stage that we don't want to risk anything because we could mess up, right? Right now, our fans are saying, "Oh, we got top four." It's still not over, right? We were up by 8 points and City won the league, right? This is football, right? Anything could happen, right? I do want Paddy McNair to start, but I feel like he's gonna up for more of a experienced players. I do want to see Smalling and Rojo because I feel like that has been our best partnership. I do want to say that I'm really, really glad that Smalling proved me wrong after the derby when we played against City at that time, because he's been phenomenal after coming back. He's shown so much growth after that red card. A lot of players, they go downhill because of that. And for Evans, being the oldest out of the two, out of Smalling and Jones, and being the worst, I don't know if his wife is treating him well in bed or whatever, but he needs to tie it enough, for fucking God's sakes.
Wow.
Because
that's a quote.
Because I've had enough of Evans at the point that it's a shame, because I actually wanted him at some point to see, because there was a lot of talk about it being the captain, who's Louis van Gaal is going to pick, and he was one of the candidates, and I was like, I could even see it happening, to be honest, because I could see him as being a potential captain. And to see how bottom hill he's gone has really just told me that he's definitely setting himself up to leave, and that's a shame for Rafael as well. But I do want to see the defense as Valencia, Chris Smalling as right center back, left center back Rojo, and Luke Shaw left back. I think I'll opt for Carrick in the holding position over Blind, just because I feel like he's a better player when it dictates the game, and Blind is sometimes tries to do too much and it doesn't work out, and I feel like Carrick is more actually, is a much more better player suitable for that position. But Di Maria, no, you can't drop Ashley Young. Ashley Young has been phenomenal, and credit to them. David Moyes, yeah. Another comparison I want to talk about David Moyes here. Antonio Valencia Fellaini, right? Antonio Valencia Fellaini and Ashley Young, they're setting themselves up to leave the club. Louis van Gaal comes and makes these guys drop the likes of Fellaini, drop the likes of Falcao and Di Maria on the bench. That just shows you the type of a manager the guy is, and I'm just so glad to see that. Who knows, man? He could even make Evans somehow come back playing as a world-class defender. But good times are coming back. I'm sorry if I'm rambling too much. I just want to say that I'm so excited. Whenever I talk to my rival fans, friends, they're pissed because we're back. What else there is to say? We're back. I'm sorry. I'm just so happy. And I just want to say one thing. And we're gonna show them against Everton because I've had enough of the way they slag David Moyes, and they wish they had David Moyes now because Martinez is bum-fucking Everton right now.
Can I just say, Pasha, you've mentioned Moyes more times in this hangout than I've kissed my girlfriend today, and I've kissed her a few times, haven't I? A few times I've kissed you today, a few times. She's shaking her head. She's had a few kisses, Pasha. She has.
The thing with David Moyes is that, I don't even want... Okay, I'm talking about too much. Listen, the football that we played under David Moyes, right? I'd rather get Ebola than ever watch that again. All right, let me just put it that way.
Doesn't bode well for Real Sociedad fans, does it really?
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think I've got to agree with Pasha because on a day like today, I think you realise where the club was a year ago today and how it should never have been there, and now you realise like what we're doing, and you realise why Louis van Gaal is our manager over the likes of Mourinho, over the likes of Moyes, and you realise that that's what we needed from the beginning. Why didn't we get that? And I think it's so much frustration. I think every fan feels it. Aidan feels it. I think Pasha feels it. Tom, you feel it. Everyone watching feels it. It's. We wish it would have worked, but it didn't. But it's annoying because it should have. And no, I get that. I was just joking around.
No, that's a superb point, mate. I think we can all agree with that. I mean, it's just one of those things that we all wished would work but didn't. But I mean, it's a year's gone and we're moving onwards and upwards, obviously. So I'm going to come to you guys, on this anniversary day to predict scorelines for Sunday for the return to Goodison Park. Ben, we'll start with you. What are you predicting?
Oh, I've got a big week on predictor this week, by the way. I'm in the full-time Devils Busby League, and it's a big week this week. I think I'm 56th at the moment. I want to get top 50. So I'm going with... Look, I think Everton will score. I think it will be a long game. I expect us to get a 90th minute goal. My head's telling me 2-1. My head's also telling me 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1. Bold prediction. Aidan, what are you thinking?
I don't think Everton are going to score. I'm pretty confident with our defence. I think that Smalling contract will make him see as though he's the leader in the defence, which is something we need. For the last 5 games, we definitely need a leader in the defence, and I think that's going to be Smalling. So I'm going to say it's going to be the reverse of last year, and it's going to be 2-0 United at Goodison Park.
2-0. No goals conceded. I mean, Pasha, do you see us keeping a clean sheet at Goodison Park, or do you think Lukaku's going to bother us?
I mean, it's we're playing away. I feel like they're gonna score a goal, but I feel like it's gonna be really tight match, and I think we're gonna beat them 2-1. That's my prediction. If it was David Moyes playing, I'll say fuck it, I'm not even gonna watch it.
I never mentioned him again. You said 2 minutes ago.
Listen, man, the way David Moyes, the thing with David Moyes is that he made me. The thing I appreciate with David Moyes is that you know who's a plastic fan and who isn't, right? Because a lot of people when David Moyes says, oh no, United, I'm gonna go support another country. That's just what football has become. But I appreciate David Moyes because Louis van Gaal has been a blessing in disguise. So
You love David Moyes, really, don't you?
Yeah, I think you do. I reckon you've got under the Iranian United flag.
Yeah,
Pasha,
you
you've
know,
got
you know,
David Moyes.
they talked about Wilfred Zaha and his daughter. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know.
That's a whole other story entirely, guys. I'm not sure we've got time to go down that
And
route,
discussion.
unfortunately. Yeah, and court case, but you know, we'll touch on that another day. But I mean, I think Ben summed it up brilliantly before that. You know, it seems like we've finally, under Louis van Gaal, we've got our identity back. I mean, under Moyes, you know, all the love to Moyes in the world because he took on an impossible job, failed miserably, but he took it on nonetheless, and he made us some signings, and you know, they've started to play now. And you know, we're moving onwards and upwards with a manager that I think we all believe in. He believes in the players believe in him, the fans believe. You know, we believe we can be successful again. And you know, going into Sunday's game, I think it's just a fantastic opportunity to sort of re-establish that, you know, fear factor that United have. I mean, a year on and onwards and upwards. I mean, I think I'm going to leave it to Ben to issue the, you know, departing rallying cry. You know what it is, mate.
I think I've only got to do one thing, haven't I? Pasha, I want you to join me in this. I want you to get your frustration from Moyes out. We do a simultaneous Come On United, Pasha, from Kent to America, right? So, Moyes, he's angered you so much, Pasha. We're going into a game against Everton. It's all to play for. We've got to do the rally and Come On United cry. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Come on, United!
Yeah.
There we go.
Can I say one more thing? Can I say one more thing about David Moyes?
Oh, gee.
Oh,
come on, man, Pasha.
One more thing about David Moyes. No. The one thing I do want to say about David Moyes. We're going to go wild now under Louis van Gaal. Have a good day.
All right, one last minute. Where can people find you tweeting, Ben?
I'm at Ben Speaks. You're usually on at the United View as well. Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Make sure you're here after the Everton game.
Brilliant. Aidan, where can people find you tweeting?
At Twitter and YouTube at Melvin7. I do FIFA videos, I do Manchester United videos, and yeah, I speak on Twitter quite a lot. So yeah, Melvin7.
Lovely stuff. And Pasha, same to you.
I hate David Moyes. No, I'm just kidding. At PASA 021.
It's at hatedavidmoyes.com. Yeah.
I mean, Ben, I think, you know, I jumped the gun there. I think I'm going to need another simultaneous send-off from you guys. Try and sync up as well this time.
Should I get my girlfriend to shout it? Her dad's a Liverpool fan.
No,
Come on, do it.
That'll make it extra sweet.
I've been told I can sod right off, so there we go. That's that gone. No, got Pasha. You've been the angriest one, mate. You do it. Go on, give us a Come On United as loud as you can.
Come on, United!